So this is going to be a little bit weird. You're probably not used to seeing me like this because this video is going to be unedited, talking about my experiences and some of my favorite aspects to all the countries I visited. Some of these places are not necessarily countries, but yes, I want to start uploading to this channel more, diving deeper into my thoughts because I really can't talk about everything that I want to in a channel like my main channel or even my gaming channel in a way. This can be a little bit more free flowing. I'm so not used to this. This is so weird. I'm so used to taking pauses in my videos to be able to kind of gather my thoughts. I used to upload videos like this all the time. But anyways, okay, so here is the tier list that I'm going to be using here. There are 14 countries. 13 countries, and then I will be adding the territory of Puerto Rico to this list to start things off. So I think it's really important to just preface here that, again, this is just my experiences. Your experiences are going to be totally different. I've also noticed that I'm a weird traveler. I don't like the same things that other people necessarily like when it comes to traveling. For instance, like I want to be culture shocked. Like I want that aspect of it. The weirder a country is, the more I'm going to like it. The more familiar I'm with a place is, I usually think that's kind of a negative thing. Also, like all of these experiences really depended on like the atmosphere, the vibe that if I was with friends or if I was alone. So that all kind of makes a difference. And again, that's why I'm kind of excited to talk about this stuff today, because a lot of this stuff I can't really get into on my main channel. But if you want to see more content from this Drew IRL, I am planning on hopefully uploading one video a week, kind of whether it's talking about stuff like this or just talking about random stuff, just kind of unedited, more free-flowing things, and I can probably experiment a little bit more with content over here, so that's kind of what I'm excited about. So speaking of that, I'm going to go with the UK first to put on my tier list. I don't really know. I also need to make sure that I add, just to mention, what city or cities I went to in each of these countries. So again, I know it's not really fair because for a lot of these places, you can't judge the entire USA just by visiting Washington, D.C. once. Like, that is really not the United States. So I have only gone to London and maybe the outskirts of London. I have been to the UK twice. I'll be honest, not a huge fan. I think I did this video before, but it might have been edited. Again, I can talk way deeper in depth why I'm choosing the choices that I'm choosing here and exactly why. So the UK, or London specifically, because I realize London is very different than the United Kingdom countryside or Birmingham. I really wanted to actually go there this second time in 2023, but I didn't get around to it. I guess, what do we talk about? The good thing about the UK I really love are the underground. Love the underground. Probably, now I'm sure people disagree with me, because whenever I would talk to people, like actual British people, or sometimes just people in general in the city that I'm visiting, they'll always tell me mixed things about the public transit, because I understand they deal with it all the time, so they see when it's late, they see when it's shut down. For me, coming from a place like LA with zero public transit, I love the underground. It's so good. Or just in general, I love public transit, the subways and things like that. So the UK has that going for them. I can reference my experience here with Frank, my editor. He edits most of my videos. He ended up liking the UK more the second time we went, weirdly, and I'm not really sure where that kind of came from. I had about the same exact experience. I visited the UK once in 2022 and then another in 2023. I don't know, like I said, and it's funny when I listen to other YouTubers, because I know you guys love to ask that question when I hear people ask other YouTubers what's their favorite countries they visited. A lot of them will pick the UK or Canada or Ireland. Man, like I said, I'm kind of more of a culture shock sort of person. I want to see more of the crazy things. The UK definitely is crazier than, for instance, Canada. I don't know if I can fairly say that because I've never been to Canada, but I feel like there's going to be slightly more weird things about the UK than from Canada, for instance, coming from an American from the US. But I don't know. I like the public transit. The food was all right. I know the memes love to talk about how the food is not good in the UK, but the food was fine for me. There was actually a really good Southern barbecue place that I tried in the UK that I definitely enjoyed. But right now the UK is just going to sit at C tier for me. I know that things are going to be completely different. I really wish I would have visited Stonehenge. That was an idea that I wanted to do. I think it's like 2 hours away from London, right? Or like I really weirdly want to go to Cornwall. Obviously, there's places like Scotland and Northern Ireland, but I haven't been to those things. Again, this is just based off of London alone, and not a huge fan. I will put it at C. I guess I'll just go in order here because I'm seeing Switzerland next. Again, this is just my experience. Wasn't a huge fan of Switzerland. Switzerland's beautiful, but man, is that currency exchange not very fun. Now, the cities that I visited in Switzerland, I visited Zurich, and I visited Geneva, and I was briefly in, I believe it was Bern, but I really don't even know if I can say I was really there for that long. So I got to experience, obviously, a lot more of Switzerland, especially seeing the Swiss countryside, because I was able to take the amazing trains there to get from Zurich to Geneva. So Geneva is the French-speaking side. Zurich is the German-speaking side. If I had to choose which side I liked more, I would probably pick Geneva. Man, there's something about the German atmosphere. There's something about I don't really know how to describe it. Very depressing in a way. It was also, when I went to Switzerland, this is 2022, I didn't visit in 2023. That's the other reason why I'm making this video, is because I didn't make a vlog of my experience in Europe the second time in 2023. As you can see on this channel, I made a vlog in 2022. I'm really glad that I filmed that, because that was a lot of my initial first perspectives on so many of these countries that I'd never been to. I'd been to Europe once in like 2018. I went to just Sweden for 4 days, so it really wasn't enough. In 2022, I actually sat there for like 2 months and popped around a couple countries. In 2023, I didn't film as much. I kind of sat in certain countries that I really liked a lot for a lot longer, and I wasn't necessarily doing as much. I was just kind of living more, I don't know, it's just a lot more boring, which is kind of why I didn't film. But I didn't revisit Switzerland in 2023. I just went there in 2022. Again, they're only really getting a C because that Swiss franc is so expensive, man. I was paying like US dollar wise, like $25 at like McDonald's. It was crazy. I can't even imagine what it is now, because inflation only continues to go up. I understand Switzerland is a very rich nation in terms of, per capita GDP. I guess I would go to Switzerland again. I mean, I'm not saying I would never go to any of these places again. I would go to a lot of these places again. But I would need a reason. I really would need a reason. I went back to the UK for a second time only because my editor Frank was going back there, so I wanted to see him. If there was like an event that was being held, then I would certainly go back. But that's really what would need to happen, like a certain event that I want to go see, or something really, really specific. But yeah, Switzerland was beautiful. Zurich really reminded me of Disneyland, which is something that I said a lot during my 2022 vlog. Zurich was really cold. That was the first time I got to really experience European trains. I liked Switzerland. I want to ski there one day. That would be cool. I would like to see the Matterhorn. I didn't see the Matterhorn. I loved flying over the Alps when I was going from, I don't know where I was going from, but I got to fly over the Alps twice. And I love looking at Switzerland from that perspective. But I think I'm going to have to give these a C real quick. I'm not really making an order here. I know maybe I'll eventually form an order, but for now, they're just going to kind of get all kind of C tiers, and I might kind of change this up. Again, don't hate me, okay? Don't hate me. These are just my individual experiences, and let me actually jump into that. I'll give you a great example. The first time I visited France, I'm going to go to France next. The first time I visited France, honestly, I would have given it a D. That was in 2022. I luckily revisited it in 2023 and had such a better time that, man, I might put it in B, to be honest. I really enjoyed France the second time. Again, my experiences are really different, and that's why I'm making this video, is partly because just to give you the overall like how I was feeling in in each one of these experiences. The second time I visited France, I was with a bunch of friends. I had a lot less time in France. I was also living in a different neighborhood in France. All those things really impacted. So in 2022, I didn't love France. And unfortunately, I feel like the places, I have terrible sleep. I am like an insomniac. So unfortunately, so going from LA to Europe, I feel like that first week is always going to be horrible, like literally just terrible. The first place I went to from Los Angeles to Europe was Paris in 2022. That was the first country I visited since Sweden in 2018. And my sleep was just so bad. I think it kind of made it hard to really enjoy it. And that's partly why I had I guess I had a D tier experience. But luckily I went back. I really enjoyed Paris. Again, I'd only been to Paris. This is really not a fair assumption to put the entire country as a B tier, only visiting the capital city. I know it's ridiculous, but I enjoyed Paris a lot with my friends, and I got to see a bit more of the nightlife. Another thing I really loved is visiting a place. Like when I go to a place, I love to map out the whole city in my head. I love to take the public transit. I love to ride bikes and scooters and try to figure out where everything is. And returning back to these places for a second time, I loved how familiar it felt to me, and I feel like that does give it a slight advantage because of the familiarity. Is that even a word? See, this is something I'd cut out because I sound stupid, but you guys get to see the rawness of that right now in this video. That obviously didn't help. The second experience obviously didn't help the UK because I'm still putting it at C, but for France it did. So it's a B. I felt like I enjoyed the food more. I did try escargot. I don't know. I just liked it a lot more. Anyways, let's see what other country. Oh my God, you guys are gonna hate me for this. I'm gonna go France, or I'm gonna go Italy next. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. I don't want to give it an F. I don't think I can give it an F because I don't want people to not go here. Really quick, I've only been to Rome. And I only went to Rome twice. I don't ever want to go to Rome for the rest of my life. I did not like Rome. I'm sorry to say. Would I recommend somebody else go to Rome, like my parents or friends? Absolutely. If you've never been to Rome, do go. For me, I never want to touch that city again. I just had two very bad experiences. The first time in 2022, I ended my trip in Rome, and I thought that it was just because I knew I was heading back home that I had like this weird sort of like lingering cloud. I felt a little bit depressed or something. I was just like, oh, I got to go back home. I'm kind of sad. And I thought that was the reason why it dampened my experience in Rome. But then I went back a second time to Rome and I just hated it. I just do not like that city at all. It feels like a giant tourist trap. Again, this is another little thing that you're going to get out of this video is I can be a little bit more raw and opinionated here on this channel, on this Drew in IRL channel. But I just never want to touch Rome again. I got to see the Colosseum. I got to see incredible things. I'm not counting the Vatican City. As you can see, the Vatican City is its own thing in this tier list video. But yeah, I've just never experienced such a massive tourist trap of a city. It really felt like that city is just there to lure tourists in. And there felt like there was a lot of scams. I didn't even get into my experience with the second time in Italy. I talked about it in my main channel, but I'm just going to repeat it again here. We had bed bugs in our hotel room. It was horrible. And we slept in them for like 6 hours without knowing until we woke up and found them. There's crazy video footage of that I'm not going to include here, but yes. Now, do I want to go back to Italy? Absolutely. I would love to visit the northern half of Italy again. Actually, one of my friends is from Sicily, so I would love to visit the southern half as well. But I just have no I don't want to go to Rome ever again. I can say firmly, and actually I would love to follow up this video next week with a country's tier list of where I want to revisit or visit eventually. I'll include countries that I would like to revisit. Italy's so high up there. I want to go to Venice. I want to go to Lombardy. Maybe even, again, San Marino is its own country, but around San Marino area, Tuscany. I love Italy. It's just Rome, no. I guess this is a good time to include the Vatican City. I loved the Vatican. The Vatican is only a day experience. I'm going to give it a B. The Vatican was incredible. even as a non-Catholic myself, I still was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Insanely beautiful. I didn't get to, my editor Frank got to visit the, I don't know what it's called, it wasn't inside, but it was another part. You don't go through the border check or anything like that. I didn't get to see that, but I saw the video footage of him going up on it, and even that looked incredible. But I actually got to go inside, see the Sistine Chapel. I really wanted to go back again. I was so disappointed I didn't get to visit it again on my second experience because the line was just too long. The Vatican City is incredible. Like it is amazing. There is insane amount of artwork. It's hard. I mean, I might even switch that to an A. It was so nice. Again, this was like a 6-hour experience, so you can't really live there. But that definitely kind of makes a difference with some of my rankings. You might be really surprised with some of these other countries that kind of get higher up on the list. And part of it is just because I only spent a day there, so I had such a good day that day that it's going to get a little bit higher on the list. Next up, and I'm actually going to follow that up with another one-day experience. I really liked Slovakia as well. I spent a lot more time in Slovakia. It was like 8 hours there. If I spent a whole week in Slovakia, I think I wouldn't like it. I do need to go back to the cities. So I just went to Bratislava. Obviously, I didn't visit any other. It was just a day trip from Vienna, Austria, that I decided to take the train to Bratislava. But I liked it there so much. It was really, really nice. And actually, that inspired me to go back. I need to go to Eastern Europe and the Balkans and further out, because my first two experiences in Europe was really kind of touristy Europe. And I know in 2022, a lot of people were leaving those comments under my videos, and it was true, but it's like I'd never really been to Europe. I had to get all the touristy things out of the way, and I can't wait to eventually revisit Europe for a third time. I guess it's fourth time. I mean, to really go down a path less traveled. Like that's Slovakia really helped me do that. Even though Bratislava is still a capital city, and I would say it's probably still a medium touristy spot, but and I'm sure people would disagree with me on that, but really cool. Love that the castle they have. I forgot what it's called. The castle was incredible. They had really good Mexican food. Everyone was super friendly, super nice. I loved that aspect of it. Yeah, you'll know now in my videos. If you watch all my videos, I've been kind of really happy whenever I bring up Slovakia. Again, if I was forced to stay in Bratislava for 6 days, I wouldn't have had I wouldn't have the same experience. I'd probably be incredibly bored. But for a day trip, loved it. It was really a fun place. All right, what next country do we want to visit? Okay, I'll talk about a country that I've been to 2 different cities in. Germany, I went to Berlin in 2022 and then Munich in 2023. I missed Oktoberfest by a month there. I don't know. I kind of gave away a little bit of my feelings about Germany. There is something kind of weirdly depressing about Germany. Why is it always just so? There's just a vibe that I get whenever I'm in Germany. It's really weird. I didn't get to. I don't know where to put this, to be honest. It might get here. Would I rather visit Germany than the UK? Yes. Would I rather visit Switzerland than the UK? Yes. Sorry. Okay, I mean to say London. I'm so sorry. I mean to say London than Germany. Yeah. Yeah, unless London has like a certain experience that I'm looking to go back. I would, yeah. So I'm gonna adjust these. I liked Germany more than the UK. I liked Germany more than Switzerland. My own experience. But yeah, I don't know. It was definitely interesting. People were really nice. I laughed at their non-humor. That just made me laugh so often because that's always a meme that the Germans don't have humor, and that actually made me find humor in so many situations. Of course, that's not a true stereotype. I did meet a lot of really funny Germans, actually. I feel like because maybe overall the population is so, their humor is so low that there are these extremely funny people that you run into in Germany, and maybe your guard is more down because you're not expecting to come across something really funny until you do meet like a funny German guy, and it's like, oh man, this guy's hilarious. Yes, I think I enjoyed. Berlin was such a cool music scene. I would definitely go back to Berlin, and I guess I would go back to Munich with certain people if they wanted to go to an Oktoberfest. I'm not a big beer guy. Sorry. I know people are going to kill me for that, but I'm not a huge beer guy. I learned a lot about Bavaria, obviously in Munich. Yeah, I think it's much more likely that I revisit Berlin. Berlin was a cool city because it was a hip, cool city that was split obviously down the middle. I was living in the eastern side, but obviously such a cool music scene there. I probably am more likely to revisit Berlin than Munich. Okay, let's go to a random one, or maybe not like a really high one. I'm gonna pick Spain. That's going to go up in A or S. I think for me it's going to go S here because for the majority of my second trip my second trip through Europe, I keep calling it my second big trip through Europe. I haven't even talked about my Swedish experience yet, but the first time I went to Europe, Spain was easily my favorite country. So when I went back the second time, I wanted to spend a lot more time in Spain. So I can actually say I've been to a lot of Spain. Barcelona, Valencia, Sevilla, Madrid. I know this is going to be really basic of me, but my favorite city is just Madrid. I loved Madrid. Part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is so I can go into more detail about that sort of stuff. I didn't like Barcelona, sorry to say. But again, Barcelona, I think it's the same experience that I had with Paris. I think if I returned back with Barcelona with friends, I would have a blast. But by myself, and it was the first city, so I was extremely jet lagged, and I had the worst insomnia of my life in Barcelona. I'm not even kidding. I think there was like a 36-hour period where I got 2 hours of sleep. It was just terrible. And I'm not talking about on the plane. Like I was just not able to sleep in that city. It was a big party city, and I could constantly hear poof, 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 poof in the neighborhood that I was in. I wish I remembered the neighborhood, but I remember Pueblo Noir, P and N-O-U, something, I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy Barcelona, but I know if I returned back with friends, I would like it. I like Spain because of the language thing. That's why I enjoyed Spain, and that's why I wanted to sit in Spain a lot. So I stayed in Spain for like maybe 6 weeks total for my second trip in 2023. I really, again, I like the culture aspect, and I prefer when I have. So the only other language I can barely speak is Spanish, and it's a very different Spanish, obviously, in Spain. But if you're familiar with the European model of how they rank your knowledge of different languages, there's like A1, A2, B1, B2, C1. It continues. I would say I'm about a B1 at Spanish, and there's like this saying that says, for all the major linguistics out there, there's like this joke of called B1 and done. B1 and done. When you get to that B1 level, you kind of stop learning because you're at the level where you're conversational and you can easily live your life, but you're not really able to properly express, your feelings. But I'm definitely at a B1 and done here. I don't know if I'm going to go much further in Spanish, but still at that level, I was able to completely just stop speaking English in my day-to-day life and just speak Spanish, and I love that. That's a big reason why Spain got such a high ranking here. Another thing that I really liked about Madrid, I'm going to kind of dive in because I got to experience the most about in Spain, so I'm going to talk a lot here about Spain. But the thing I loved about Madrid is it felt like the Spanish-speaking capital of the world in a way, even though it's not the city with the most population that speaks Spanish. I believe that's Ciudad de Mexico, that's Mexico City, that has the most Spanish speakers. But it felt like it was like the symbolic Spanish-speaking capital of the world because you go around in Madrid and there's like so many people from the Spanish world that you'll meet. I met Venezuelans and Bolivians and Argentinians and Peruvians, and it was so cool. And just like living my day-to-day life in Madrid, it was way more likely that I was going to run into them than like a Spanish, like a person from Spain, because of the things that I was doing, you know what I mean? Like going to like currency exchange, I ran into a Venezuelan, and then one of my Uber drivers was from Venezuela, and there was a person that was on a tour that was Argentinian. there was just so many. I feel like I wasn't even really running into Spaniards in Madrid, and I love that because it was so awesome to ask them about their country. And so many people from South America, the Spanish-speaking part of South America, move to Madrid, and then they have to live there for 2 years, and they become a citizen, and then they can move anywhere. So, yeah, I love Madrid. And then the second note I want to say about Madrid is that really good public transit. I guess Barcelona has really good public transit. Side note, Barcelona has incredible bike lanes. Like, it's incredibly bike-friendly. I would argue maybe more bike-friendly than even Amsterdam in the Netherlands. But anyways, so Spain is getting an S. I'll stop rambling about that, but really enjoy that. I guess we might as well move on to the Netherlands. I liked the Netherlands. I only visited in 2022, so only one time, and it was just Amsterdam. But it was for their big week-long festival. I think it's at the end of October. What's that called? It's like Festival of Music. This is one of those places where I know if I visit with my friends, I would love it. If I return to Amsterdam, it might go into A tier. I really liked it. I really liked the people there. Very tall, of course, just like the stereotypes. I am going to kind of do the ranking properly. I would say the Netherlands was more fun than France. And I just know if I revisit with friends, which I plan to do one day, I'm going to love it. Very bike friendly. I will say this is a random side note, but I love to use, what is that called again? The ride sharing scooter app, not Lyft. I can't even remember, but you know, when you like walk down the street, I know locals hate it, and you just see like the scooters on the ground. Amsterdam didn't had that, and I have to say I'm such a fan of that. If you watch the vlog, I complain, but I love using that system to get around. So I did have to rent a bike in order to actually. I mean, it's like I don't like renting bikes, but it's like I'm in Amsterdam. I have to ride a bike, and I couldn't use my normal ride sharing, bike sharing app basically. So I rented a bike. Didn't really love that experience, but I wish you guys would include whatever I'm missing out. I'm blanking on. There might have been city, each city has their own individual version of that. I was using the Uber owned scooter rideshare basically, but yeah, I hope to visit the Netherlands one day again. So they're going to get a pretty high ranking on there. Okay, so we're down to 6 nations left. Which one do I want to do? I guess I'll kind of do a hard one. This is the first country I've ever visited outside of the U.S. It was Sweden. Now, the problem is it was in 2018, and I don't really remember much. This was for a Paradox event, Paradox Interactive. They do, they make Europa Universalis. They make Hearts of Iron 4. They invited me out to Paradox Con. I enjoyed that experience. I feel like I didn't get to fully experience Sweden that much. It was just Stockholm. It was only for 4 days. I guess you could say I had Stockholm syndrome. Because I'd already visited it, it's going to be hard for me to want to go back. So I feel like I'm going to have to put it in these tiers. Like I do slightly want to go back, but it's not on the top country that I'd like to revisit again. All these countries, well, the Vatican and Slovakia don't necessarily have high revisit value for me, but those days were so nice that I would do it. France and Netherlands have a higher revisit desire in me than these countries. That's not necessarily true for Germany, but anyways, I liked Sweden. I had a really good steak there. That's what I really remember. I had a really good steak in Sweden, and it was a cool place where you had to go under, and it was like a basement spot that I remember trying. This was in summertime too. For midsummer, I would love to visit Sweden again. Again, these rankings probably would change if I revisit the country and I had a different experience. I went alone, but I met up with a lot of friends in this experience, just to say. But yeah, that was just Stockholm. I guess I'll go, oh man, I don't want to do this here. I'm a little bit scared because I don't like to give like bad rankings. I don't know why it went to my face cam there. Not Austria. I didn't love Ireland. And people were so disappointed when they hear that from me. Ireland's not as bad as my Rome experience, but it wasn't great either. I have to say right now, it was only Dublin. It was only Dublin for 5 days, and I didn't experience. Please listen. Please don't think if you've never been to Ireland that Ireland's not worth traveling to. It absolutely is. I'm gonna make so many Americans mad because I already know when I do these videos, so many people, when they have traveled a lot, they do pick the English-speaking countries like Canada, Ireland, the UK. So I'm going to make a lot of people mad by this. But I was in a really bad neighborhood in Ireland. I just visited Ireland once for 5 days in 2023, and I just stayed in Dublin. The Irish countryside I would love to revisit, and it's going to be a completely different world. And I know the people that have actually visited Ireland, and they did actually go to the Irish, because, I mean, who visits just Dublin when they go to Ireland? I'm sure you do it for a day or two, but you really got to go and see the green, the rolling hills, the small pubs, the history and the countryside. But yeah, just Dublin. Didn't have a good time. And part of it was because when I first arrived there, literally the first hour I arrived there, I'm talking to the border guard. I'm having a good conversation with him. He asked me where exactly I'm staying. I show him. He's like, whoa, be careful over there, mate. That's a really dangerous part of Dublin. And I'm like, yeah, like, so that's a great experience. It did feel a little bit, little sketchy for sure. I mean, he did warn me not to go out at night, and yeah, I mean, I'm from Southern California. You know, I'm experienced with sketchy neighborhoods, but you don't really expect it there. You don't really expect it. I don't expect it in Europe personally, even though I did run into it in the UK and Ireland. Remember this context in like 5 minutes when I start talking about Mexico, but it's gonna be so funny. Yeah, I would like to revisit Dublin for like a day with friends. I did do this alone, but that experience by myself was not a good one. It was also my last 5 days of my trip, so I just really wanted to go home. Sorry, Ireland. Sorry. Again, all this stuff is subject to change. Austria. I feel like, now I only visited Vienna, but I did take a train. I go through the countryside. I've said this before in a main channel video. It is really, I'm going to put it C tier right there. I said this before. It's Paris in German. It's just Paris in German. It's artsy, all this cool architecture, cool museums, very, I don't want to say hipster, but seemed a little bit hipster at times. It just felt like the German world Paris. The Paris of the German world, I guess that's a better way to phrase it. The German-speaking world, you know, talking about Germany, Austria, part of Switzerland, all that stuff. I liked it. It was beautiful. Such an underrated place, too. Like, I know people visit Austria, but it's really not super high on their list. I would definitely recommend it. I think Americans would like it. A lot of English speakers there. Of course, Paris had a lot of English speakers, too, but I think Austria would have higher rates of English speakers than Paris. I don't know about that figure, but I'm just saying. But yeah, I liked Austria. I don't know if its revisit value is as high as Sweden, Switzerland, and Germany for me, but certainly possible. Okay, so now we're going to get into more of the North American states. I'm finally out of Europe. I guess I'll go Puerto Rico here. I like Puerto Rico. I feel like I didn't. Did I have a good experience? Yes. Would I want to visit again? I think I'm going to give Puerto Rico right there. I visited Puerto Rico, San Jose specifically, for like 4 or 5 days there, also with Frank and a couple other friends. I liked it a lot. I think we did travel slightly out of San Jose. I know Frank definitely did. Oh yeah, we did, because we did get to experience the water and the ocean. That was beautiful. Apparently there was turtles. I can't swim that well. I didn't get to see the turtles. I was in my like little noodle. Yeah, I can swim, but I'm not a very strong swimmer. I liked Puerto Rico a lot. And the cool thing about Puerto Rico is it's a U.S. territory. So I think we visited that in 2021, and that was during COVID. So there were some travel restrictions. Puerto Rico was the perfect place to scratch that, like wanting to travel internationally during the height of COVID, but not having to worry about visas and all the COVID restrictions that were once all in place. Puerto Rico was perfect for that time. Would definitely recommend Puerto Rico for someone that wants to experience something if you don't have your passport, a completely different world. But you don't have your passport, or if you don't actually want to go international or whatever. Really fun, Puerto Rico. I loved Puerto Rico. Loved the music. Loved the vibes. Got to smoke some cool cigars there. So yeah, they're going to get pretty high on the list. I'm going to go Costa Rica next. Costa Rica was a different trip all these trips are not links to my European journeys. I really liked Costa Rica. I would definitely visit it again. I might give Costa Rica this spot. I did get to visit this country. Did I miss up what's the capital of Puerto Rico? I might have missed the capital of Puerto Rico, but the Costa Rican capital is San Jose, I believe. I'm not 100% about that, but we did get to visit that. I did like it a lot, and I went to the Pacific side. I should mention that. I know Americans love to visit. Costa Rica is starting to become a bigger and bigger travel spot. I don't even really know how that is. Costa Rica is doing a lot of things. Well, first of all, they use U.S. dollars. They kind of have some Jurassic Park things there. So a lot of Americans are traveling to Costa Rica. But yeah, I visited the Pacific side, not the Atlantic Ocean side. I liked it a lot. I liked the capital. I like the Spanish they speak there. This is really random. I should preface that when I visited Puerto Rico, I didn't really know Spanish as well as I do now. So I didn't really get to use that in place. I'm sure a lot of people in Puerto Rico speak English though. But yeah, I get to use a lot of Spanish in Costa Rica. I love the musical accent to Spanish. When the further south you go, it gets more and more kind of musical in my opinion. In Colombia, and I could hear it in Costa Rica, and it's funny how fast that would rub off on me just speaking to the locals in Costa Rica. I started kind of like speaking Spanish more rhythmically. It was so funny, really beautiful accent. I think it's a really cool accent. But yeah, I would definitely like to revisit again. This time on the Atlantic side. I also loved the capital. It was fun. Me and my friend Frank had a great time just walking around the capital and getting into adventures by ourselves. And they said the Costa Rican capital wasn't super safe. They said to be careful there. I thought it was fine, but this is all in context. I think it's funny, like again, my tolerance for that stuff is lower, is high. Like I feel like I'm not expecting it when I'm in Europe, so like I'm kind of jarred when I see it in the European continent. But then when I go to other places, I'm expecting to like have my guard up at times, just because you should. Like that's how you should normally travel. But I've always heard that Europe is so safe that when I don't see a super safe area, I'm just like, what? I know for Europeans, they're probably just like, obviously, Drew, yes, we have unsafe areas too, but yeah, I don't know what that is. So that brings me to my last country. Again, this is a perfect follow-up to all that. Mexico's absolutely getting S tier. I love Mexico. It might even go ahead to Spain. I love Mexico. I didn't realize as many Americans travel to Mexico as Mexico is one of the most traveled places on earth, and part of that is just because so many Americans go there. Let me just say right now, it wasn't because of Cancun, and it wasn't because of Cabo. Those are the two places that Americans go to. I've never been to Cabo, and I didn't really love my Cancun experience that much. It didn't feel like Mexico to me. That's part of the reason why I didn't like it. My first trip to Mexico was going to Cancun, and I hated it kind of the first couple days, just because I'm going to Mexico. I want to experience Mexico. So I was just on some like beach resort thing, and it was just blah. Luckily, we did go through the Yucatan Peninsula. I did visit more of the. Again, it was more it was still touristy, but I got to see more of the Yucatan Peninsula, Playa del Carmen, and we went to some sort of theme park, like some sort of Mexico theme park, Xcaret or something, Xcaret, something. I don't know how to pronounce that word. But yeah, the country. I probably know Mexico more than any other country on this list because I visited it 4 or 5 times. The cities that I've been, I drove through Tijuana. I went to Chihuahua, Mexico, Ciudad de Mexico, City of Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, Tequila, Jalisco, Playa del Carmen, all that. So I went to a whole bunch of Mexico. I love Mexico. I want to go back again, actually, very soon. It's just an itch that no other place can scratch for me. And part of this comes down to like my childhood. I grew up in Southern California, so you can't escape the cultural influence that Mexico has in Southern California. I mean, even more so in San Diego. So just growing up here, I've always wanted to visit Mexico. I only visited Mexico for the first time last year, but I loved it. Again, I love speaking Spanish. I like to speak, Mexican Spanish because that's what I grew up with. I took Spanish in high school, so that also helped. I mean, Mexico is one of those places. Mexico gets a bad rep from the rest of the world because of, all the crime they hear about and things like that. But I think that's a little bit overplayed. Obviously, don't go to some places. Have your guard up. But man, it's so much fun. I don't know. It's definitely my top country, and I really want to revisit it. And it's so cool. One of my favorite things about it is I remember thinking like, oh, wow, I took a plane trip from LA to Europe for 12 hours to really experience like a completely different world, when really all I had to do was do a 2-hour drive from San Diego or I guess from LA to Tijuana, and you would have been transported to a completely alien planet. Like, it's funny. You can really visit an alien world by going to Mexico, if that's what you want. And again, that's what I like about traveling, is I'm not the type of guy that wants the language to be in English, and I want the signs to be in a completely different language. I want the culture to be completely different than what I'm used to. I want the food to be different. I want all that, and that's what you can really get from Mexico. So that's why it is top on my list. So definitely would love to go back. I probably will. I'll probably have to make an update to this tier list at some point. Sorry, Italy, for giving you D tier, but man, Rome was just so bad. And I'm sure whenever I do another video, whenever I do a video again, an update to this, because I would like to finally go to Asia this year. I'll have to do an update to this, and I do want to revisit Europe. So this tier list will absolutely change. I'm sorry if your country is lower than you expected, but I guarantee countries will probably go higher. They probably go higher. I don't think they're going to go lower than this spot. So that's really the thing. But anyways, please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more content like this. Again, I won't always make kind of geography or travel content. I kind of want to do things more just more personal. I mean, that's why this is called Drew_IRL. Just more personal things, kind of talk about topics that I don't feel comfortable talking about on the main channel or the gaming channel. But anyways, thank you. See you next time.